Welcome back to Nonstop Recap. Today, we're going to be going over the 2015 erotic thriller, Careful What You Wish For. The film opens on Doug and his parents arriving at a quaint town filled with gorgeous young women in bikinis. As they pull up to their summer lake house, Doug's parents worry that he spends too much time reading and not enough time on girls. This concern is shared by Doug's friend Carson, who brings Doug to a dockside bar called The Rudder, where they'll be working over the summer. Inside, Sheriff Big Jack takes the stage with his country band and uses a patron's unpaid parking tickets as leverage to make him buy a round for the whole bar. Remarkably, this is important later. Doug returns home and finds Lena and Elliot Harper taking a tour of the empty house next door. He watches Lena through the window and she appears to notice him. Later, he goes downstairs with his bike and they make proper eye contact. Doug goes to help Carson set up a sex shack in a rundown boathouse while Carson tries to convince Doug that sex is just as easy as math. When Doug returns home, he finds his parents next door where he meets Elliot and they bond over their love of sailing. Elliot offers Doug a job fixing up his new vintage sailboat. As Doug works on the boat, Lena emerges from the water in sexy slow motion, just in case any teenagers are watching. He watches her take a shower, but Elliot interrupts to negotiate Doug's hourly pay. That night, Doug hears arguing and looks out the window to see Elliot assaulting Lena. Doug makes no mention of it when meeting Elliot at the boatyard the next day. Doug asks Elliot how he got rich, and Elliot tells him it's about taking risks. Later, Doug works on some minor part repairs in his room when he hears Lena scream. He runs out to find Lena being terrorized by a tiny spider on her dashboard. He kills the spider, receives a bizarre lap dance while fixing Lena's windshield wipers, and leaves awkwardly. He later tells Carson about the encounter, but Carson warns him that Elliot seems unstable and Doug should be careful. Doug comes home to find Lena sitting on his porch swing. She's locked herself out and needs him to use his Nick Jonas muscles to break the window. He does, but cuts himself on the way in. She cleans his wound and Nick tries to kiss her. He apologizes, but she's into it, and they wind up having sex in the kitchen. Before Doug leaves in the morning, Lena warns him not to tell anybody about what happened. He goes home to grin like an idiot for a while before going for a swim with Carson. Carson reveals that Doug butt-dialed him, and he creepily recorded it. Carson assumes that Doug was just watching porn and tries to get him interested in some girls their own age, but Doug dismisses him. Later, Doug works on the boat when Lena shows up to say she's been thinking about him all week, and they again have sex. After seeing Elliot and Lena at the Rudder, Doug resists more encouragement from Carson to find a girl. Later, Doug sees Elliot outside the gas station and goes in to find Lena. She pulls him outside to have sex against the back wall, and Elliot almost discovers them until Lena sneaks inside to distract Elliot while Doug sits half naked on some milk jugs. We cut to Doug working on the underside of the boat when Elliot shows up and angrily orders Doug inside to complain about Doug's caulk. He then opens up about feeling unappreciated at home, and Doug suggests that Elliot should treat Lena better. Elliot leaves, visibly agitated. Cut to Doug and Lena having a naked picnic in Elliot's bed. Doug sees half a heart tattoo on Lena's ankle and learns it was from a past relationship. Lena then gives Doug a burner phone to contact her with, reminding him Elliot is paranoid and they need to be careful. Then they go to the kitchen for more food, where the gardener sees them through the open window. Doug arrives at the boatyard to find Elliot revealing the name of his sailboat, the Intrepid. Elliot invites Doug out for a sail and insists Lena join them. Out on the lake, Elliot belittles Doug for being single. Doug says he's in love with someone, but she's stuck in a bad relationship. Elliot tells Doug that he's being played and that love will cost him. When the engine malfunctions, Elliot goes below deck to fix it, and Lena tells Doug that she plans on leaving Elliot tonight. Later, Lena calls Doug from a medical center saying that she tried to divorce Elliot and he assaulted her. They meet up, and Doug tells Lena to call the police, but she refuses. We cut to contractors working on Doug's house while Doug calls Lena and learns the gardener hasn't said anything yet. They hook up in Carson's boathouse, and Lena tells Doug that she's positive Elliot will figure things out. At the rudder, Carson tells Doug that he knows the boathouse is being used and he knows Doug's seeing someone. Later, Doug comes home and Lena texts him to say there's been trouble. He finds Lena in his room and she tells him to come next door as soon as possible. When he does, he finds Elliot's dead body in the hallway. Lena says she killed him in self-defense, but she's afraid to call the cops. So Doug, a math whiz with dreams of attending Columbia, tells her to just leave the body there and they'll work it out later. At the rudder, Doug is visibly nervous and drops a box of booze. Carson pesters Doug about the mystery butt dial woman, but Doug snaps at him. He later returns home to find Lena drinking with his parents. They pretend to be unacquainted and he says he's going to bed before sneaking out to Lena's, where they decide to make the death look like an accident. Doug drags Elliot's body to the boatyard where the security captain sees him aboard the Intrepid. The next morning, Big Jack finds Elliot's body at the docks along with a scorched ID. As Doug watches the police break the news to Lena, he flashes back to setting the boat on fire the night before. Later at the rudder, Big Jack and Deputy Lem inform Doug that the boat was insured for $10 million and Lena is suspected of killing Elliot for the money. An insurance investigator, Angela Alvarez, is on her way to look into it. Angie stops to replace some torn pantyhose before meeting with the sheriff, where we learn this is her first major case. She assures him that she means business. Meanwhile, Doug gets a text from Lena that the cops are onto her and to stay away. Angie interviews Lena, who claims Elliot left the house after an argument and never came back. Angie asks if either of them was having an affair, but Lena denies it and storms out. Lem brings Jack the lab work on Elliot, which appears to confirm Lena's story. But the security captain overhears and says he might have seen something. Jack and the security captain stop by the gas station, where Jack tells the owner he thinks the captain is full of it. But Doug talks to the captain and learns that he's no longer sure if the person he saw on the boat was Elliot. Later, Angie and Big Jack investigate the Harper residence. While Jack realizes Doug can see the house from his room, Angie discovers the broken window. Doug watches as they call a forensic team and Angie seems to notice him. Out of the docks, Carson tells Doug that Angie spoke to him about Elliot's death and he accidentally mentioned Doug's mysterious affair. The police later show up at Doug's house and ask his parents to bring him in for an interview. On the way, Doug tries to call Lena but hangs up when his parents get in the car. They show Doug a newspaper article about Elliot's death and he remembers Elliot's warning that love will cost him. At an interview with Angie, she asks about Lena and he claims to have hardly known her. She insinuates that lying would be a felony, but his parents jump to his defense and end the questioning. At work, Doug learns from the security captain that Lena's changed her story. She now claims she had a stalker who might have killed Elliot. Carson apologizes for getting Doug involved, but Doug gets a text from Lena and runs off to meet her at the boathouse. Doug tells Lena that the cops are closing in and she tells him to destroy the burner phones. He instead hides them in the floorboards. Lena tells him that if they get through this, they can be together for real. Doug comes home to find Angie and Jack, who take his fingerprints and DNA. Jack reveals that Lena's earlier trip to the medical center was for a rape kit, and the DNA matches the blood on the broken window. Angie questions Doug about the night of the murder and tells him that if he doesn't tell the truth, Lena will get away with framing him and taking the insurance payout. He sticks to his story and demands to be let go. He goes to the rudder and reveals the truth to Carson, who says he shouldn't come clean without proof the relationship was consensual. They decide the burner phones and the gardener are their best bets. Doug speaks with Jack, who reminds him of the incident with a parking ticket and suggests his loose definition of justice could be useful if Doug tells the truth. But Doug's parents call and order him home right away. Doug tells Jack about the gardener before leaving, and Jack takes his water glass to have it tested for prints, with orders that he needs the results back before Angie gets hers. Back at the station, Angie tells Jack the gardener has been murdered. Lem then confirms that Doug's prints match the ones on the window. Meanwhile, Doug's parents confront him about finding Lena's underwear in his drawer. Before he can tell the truth, Jack shows up to arrest him. But Doug gets a text from Carson about the gardener and flees through the window to get the burner phones while there's still hope. Doug passes Angie on his bike and she follows him to the boathouse. He gets there first, but Lena enters and kisses him before revealing she already has the phones. As the cops show up, Lena rips her dress and removes her sunglasses to reveal a black eye. She then pretends Doug is attacking her and the cops arrest him. While Angie takes Lena to safety, Jack admits that he believes in Doug's innocence, but can't prove anything. He lets Doug go, and Doug races to the motel where Lena's been staying. He finds several passports in her purse along with her phone. Angie shows up and looks through the phone before calling Jack and telling him that Doug's been telling the truth. She tells Doug to wait in cuffs for Jack to arrive while she takes Lena away. As they leave, Doug notices the other half of Lena's heart tattoo on Angie's ankle and realizes they've been working together. He tries to call for help, but sees the phone is unplugged. Angie and Lena leave the burner outside the motel before driving off and escaping on a seaplane as the cops arrive for Doug. Much later, Doug returns to the lake house. He reveals that he went to prison but under a reduced sentence thanks to the evidence on the phone Lena left him. Looking back on his love for Lena, he isn't sure if he'd do anything differently. Columbia material, this kid. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more.